Wood is a fantastic material, and it's a part of the IKEA identity. The IKEA standard ensures that all wood in our products is legally logged and doesn't have a negative impact on the environment. IKEA has more than 20 foresters.
IKEA claims to be the largest manufacturer of wood furniture in the world. The company says it loves wood and the forests that it comes from. So you'd expect then that the timber used in its flat pack furniture would be legally harvested without damaging the environment. Wouldn't you?
Our size means that we have a great responsibility and a fantastic opportunity to influence and improve forestry management practices.
But tonight our investigation reveals that some IKEA forest products aren't responsibly sourced as the company claims. Many come from Eastern Europe, an area with a well-documented history of unsustainable deforestation. The Ingolf, the Henriksdal, household names from the beech forests of Romania and Ukraine. And finally, small, simple, basic, they call it the terrier. And you're going to be hearing an awful lot more about this chair. So in the weeks just before lockdown, we came to the far southwestern corner of Ukraine. These Carpathian forests, habitat for some of the continent's rarest wildlife, including several thousand brown bears. But every year their habitat is disappearing. These forests are being felled at an unsustainable rate. It is a long, long way from the IKEA stores of the UK to this place, the depths of the Carpathian Mountains. But we've decided to bring our little chair home, as it were, because whilst an awful lot of these chairs, of course, come from these forests to the UK quite legitimately, unfortunately that's not the case for all of them. A beech tree felled, destined for IKEA. These local foresters tell us this is perfectly legal. But what's this? We soon find a hillside illegally felled in spring. That's outlawed because it's the breeding season for animals and birds. We know this area was illegally logged because the Ukrainian forestry authorities have told us so. And we also know it was logged by a company which makes products like this for IKEA. Official papers show no fewer than 109 hillsides were illegally felled in spring 2018 alone. Now that's enough trees to produce over 250,000 terrier chairs. Some sites, like this one, were illegally cut down in the spring by a company which sells 100% of its beech to IKEA. A few kilometres further south, we rendezvous with campaigners trying to ensure the loggers aren't breaking the law. And right here, a large swathe of illegal logging, and this time different offences. The foresters have left watercourses clogged up with discarded trees and branches, a clear breach of the law. And there's yet another offence. This is important, what's written on here, okay? Tell us why this is important. Why does this matter?
Це діляночний стовпчик, який показує, які рубка тут проводилася. Можна побачити, що це суцільна санітарна рубка в 2018 році на площі 2,1 гектара.
The law here says sanitary cutting, clearing diseased or blown down trees, must have an environmental impact assessment if it's for more than 1 hectare.
This particular state forest enterprise didn't undergo this procedure.
How do you know?
These documents are available online. There is a register of the EIA, Environmental Impact Assessment, and we can see that there are no procedures held by these particular state forest enterprises.
So the official evidence shows, it's their documentation, their evidence shows that this had to be illegal. Nobody else's evidence, it's official evidence.
They broke the law.
IKEA says that all its suppliers must respect the national laws and their timber is 100% certified.
We use the Forest Stewardship Council to make sure that the forests where we source from are well managed in a way that's good for nature, good for environment and good for people.
So far as consumers in the UK, they would look on the labelling and say that this was sustainably produced. Does this look sustainably produced?
It's 100% illegal, so it doesn't look very sustainable.
It was time to leave the mountains behind to meet the man responsible for logging in the area. He too is sceptical of IKEA's green credentials.
Do you think that foreign companies like IKEA, who are the biggest, do you think they have the same care for the forest?
Про ліси тут дбають лише ті люди, які тут живуть, більше ніхто про них не дбає. Ікею інтересує промисловий ліс і бізнес.
He didn't deny evidence either of widespread illegal logging.
Екологічна інспекція має всі повноваження для того, аби вона, якщо є таке порушення, то вона під час проведення як позапланових, так і планових перевірок може накласти відповідні санкції. Незрозуміло, якщо вони мають таку інформацію, чому вони не застосували санкції на дане порушення.
Environmentalists say up to 40% of Ukraine's timber exports are illegal because it doesn't enforce the law.
We have numerous cases where we identified some illegalities and provided this information to the police, to the prosecutors, to the ecological inspection, but in most cases there is no result.
Wide-scale illegal logging, questionable law enforcement and disappearing precious beech forests, where 3/4 of the timber is fed into the IKEA supply chain. So where next for our little chair? Well, once the trees have been felled, the timber has to be processed. And processors don't come much bigger in this part of Ukraine than this one, VGSM. This is where the newly felled timber for IKEA is stored. Legal or illegal, all the logs have the appearance of legitimacy with official stamps on them. This label says the wood is destined to become the front legs for Ingolf dining chairs. Irina Matsapura is VGSM's managing director.
Some campaigners, some NGOs, and some of the official inspectorate documents suggest that some wood comes into this factory which is illegally harvested. What do you say to that?
Ми завжди заготовляємо тільки легальну деревину. І на кожен кубічний метр деревини у нас завжди є підтверджуючий документ. Тим більше IKEA закуповує тільки FSC-сертифіковану деревину. І, відповідно, все, що ми маємо, ми можемо кожен один кубометр деревини підтвердити первинними документами з лісу.
It's the IKEA way. If it's got a certificate, it's okay. And yet, as we've seen tonight, hundreds of tons of illegally logged beech continue to enter the IKEA supply chain, and with the blessing of the Forest Stewardship Council, the FSC, the very body set up to protect these ancient forests. From VGSM, the processed panels are trucked out of Ukraine and across the border to Romania. Just a mile inside Romania lies a vast furniture plant decked out in the colours of its major client, IKEA. The last leg of the journey from chainsaw to chair.
And it is here in the giant Plimob factories of Romania that the wood finally becomes our little chair. Ready, of course, for onward distribution to IKEA factories across Europe and beyond.
Environmental campaigners at Earthsight have been investigating this illegal logging for years. They say IKEA must take responsibility.
It's IKEA's job to make sure that what the consumer is buying is legitimate wood. They can't just rely on other people to do that for them. And what we've seen, and not just in Ukraine and not just with IKEA, is that FSC is totally failing in that regard. We've seen illegal wood, human rights abuses, corruption all around the world involving FSC certified companies. And so what IKEA needs to do, using its clout as the biggest buyer of FSC wood, is get FSC to change, make it better.
The FSC say they're fully aware of the problems in Ukraine with corruption and law enforcement, but insist whenever illicit acts are identified and reported, they are investigated. Tonight, IKEA said they're launching an investigation and will terminate contracts with suppliers if they're breaking the law. We remain steadfast, they told us, in our ambition to care for both people and planet.
Well, as you may just have detected there, much of that investigation was, of course, filmed before lockdown. But I'm joined now from Stockholm by Ulf Johansson, who is IKEA's Manager of Global Wood Supply and Forestry. Mr. Johansson, thanks very much for being with us. The evidence here is compelling and comprehensive. It's pretty clear IKEA either cannot follow the environmental laws in this situation, or they won't. Which is it?
I would like to start with saying that IKEA always appreciates reports and other findings that come from environmental NGOs and other organizations. It helps us to increase transparency and raise awareness over the situation in the forest in the world.
Well, what's the problem then? Because you either cannot follow the laws or you will not. I mean, there's not much room for maneuver. The evidence is compelling here.
I want to be very clear. IKEA does never accept illegally sourced wood.
Well, we filmed precisely that happening. There are enormous amounts of wood coming in. This is from the Government Environment Agency. This is from the so-called watchdog, the FSC. We'll come on to them in a minute, behind whom IKEA seems to hide in this situation. But the fact is, whether you like it or not, that wood is getting very much into your supply chain.
We received a letter from Earthsight 3 weeks ago, and since then we took immediate action. We started by doing our own investigations with our own forestry specialists. We asked a third-party independent auditing company to do audits, and we also raised the question to Assurance Services International, FSC's independent auditing company, to investigate these allegations. And I can assure you that if any illegal wood is indicated in our product, we will take immediate action and stop those supplies.
You mentioned that independent auditor. That's the ASI, yes?
ASI is one of them, yes?
Right, well, they're 100% owned by the FSC, this toothless watchdog. They're not independent at all.
That is one of the three safeguards that we have. And as I mentioned...
Well, hang on, that's not a safeguard. You're saying, no, forgive me, you're saying you're relying on what you call an independent body here to investigate this. I'm telling you what is the truth. They're 100% owned by a watchdog that doesn't watch anything.
IKEA is not relying on FSC. Our three first safeguards is our internal working methods. We require our suppliers to be compliant in our purchase agreement with all the requirements at IKEA. We work with our own independent, our own forestry specialists that last year conducted 200 audits around the world with focus on high-risk countries. The third safeguard is that we ask for independent audits randomly as well as targeted, where we see a stronger need to do extraordinary audits.
Okay, now our time is short, but I must press you on this. You said you're going to investigate this. You said that you will stop contracts with companies where you find they're operating illegally. And basically you've got this second independent organization to try and help you do that. So everything rests with that. If you get some success, will you end those contracts?
As I said, we never accept illegal wood in our supply chains. And if we find indication of that, we will immediately take action and stop the supply.
Right. Well, that assurance we can take back at least from this situation. Thanks very much indeed for being with us.